So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital
The United Auto
revolution.
Workers and Ford have reached a tentative deal together, and we need to talk about it. Sean Fain, the leader of the United Auto Workers, is calling it a historic deal. So let's first look at what the United Auto Workers was demanding. They looked at a 40% raise increase, and it was down to 36. So what did they get? They got a 25% general wage increase over the course of the agreement, although, however, the cost of living adjustment may push us up to over 30%. So, that is higher, right? I mean, that's higher than what they were making. It's not a pay decrease, but they were shooting at one point for 40, came down to 36, came down at 25. Now, I want to be clear here, initial offers by the union, initial offers by the company are intentionally high and low, and as a result, you're always supposed to meet in the middle. It's a bit of a posturing, and no one expected, meaning the United Auto Workers, did not seriously expect 40% or even 36% at any given point. However, I imagine that the union was looking forward to amounts like that. They didn't get that. It was 25% over the course of the contract, which is 4.5 years. So we're talking 25% over 4.5 years. Now they'll get an initial increase of 11%, which is substantial, right? However, the 22 inflation rate was 8%. So that's a significant eating away of any of these increases. This has resulted in a massive decrease. Inflation has resulted in a massive decrease of wealth. And now they're locked into a 25% wage hike over the next 4.5 years. Is that going to be enough to keep up with inflation? I'm not sure, although the cost of living adjustment should certainly help, which is something that they won back over this time frame. In addition, the United Auto Workers were looking for 401k accounts with a company contribution. Appears they mostly got that, but they were also looking for restored defined benefit pensions that workers previously received, and to pay for all the healthcare costs for the retirees. Again, that's a bit of a pie in the sky. It's part of the negotiating process. That's sort of what you expect when you go into these things. I think they got the 401k, but the restored defined pensions that workers previously received, and to pay for all the healthcare costs for retirees, absolutely did not happen. The union was also looking for a 32-hour work week for pay for 40, right to strike over plant closures, and in the event that an automaker does close a plant, provisions that would force the company to continue paying workers indefinitely to do community service. They got one of those three, again, part of the posturing, but they did get the right to strike, which is a pretty big one. The right to strike is a huge change from what's happened historically. They now have the right to strike over plant closures. That will be a big issue coming up, presumably with the electric vehicles, which should push more plant closures. Electric vehicles are, of course, not good for the United Auto Workers because they require less employees. But coming from that, companies are shying away from the electric vehicles. It's been all over the news recently. You've been seeing it left and right. And, the automakers are not being successful with the electric vehicles. And so they've won the right to strike over that. That should be a pretty strong win on that piece. I don't think that the wages are particularly powerful. The rest of the big three, or the other part of the rest of the big three, the big two, GM and Stellantis, are now under the gun. Sean Fain says that, well, they're not, they don't want to be the last out, the last one producing. I want to throw out here, though, and I think that this is interesting. So they have a strike fund, they have a reserve fund. This reserve fund, war chest, pays employees $500 a week to be off during a strike. They'll now be able to conserve that money, and it should go a lot farther for Ford and Stellantis. For GM and Stellantis, and as a result, they are able to strike for longer if they need to. They could take this deeper if they wanted to, and that is pretty key. And that puts a lot of pressure on GM and Ford. Sorry, GM and Stellantis. I wanted to include this real quick because I always think it's funny when experts start speaking. Tim Bichowski, the portfolio manager at ACR, said, I think this will be a positive for stocks. All three are in the negative as of the end of the day. This is a long-term deal. Yeah, I'd hate to make fun of someone on such a short time scale, but I don't know if that's true. I think that ultimately it was a wash. I mean, this will relieve pressure off of Ford and just put it on to Stellantis and GM. Is it sustainable? Is a 25% increase sustainable? Perhaps, and I think it just depends on. We've seen a outlandish increase in cost of living and an outlandish increase in the cost of cars, and as a result, the United Auto Workers were able to secure a successful contract, in their opinion, or at least in the opinion of Sean Fain. The next step is for them to bring the tentative agreement to the UAW National Ford Council to Detroit. The next in line in the chain, the Ford Council is the next in line after the chain of national negotiators. They'll look at the agreement, vote to send it to the UAW members, and then all the UAW members at Ford will get the chance to vote, and we'll see how it goes from there. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Was it historic? Was it, as Sean Fain says, turning the tide for the working class in this country, or was it a middle of the road contract? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.